America locks up more people than any country in the world. We have way too many kids that are in custody. At the end of the day, there hasn't been any evidence that we get better outcomes by just locking people up.
I think before, the thought was if you lock a kid up, then you teach them a lesson and they won't do that anymore. But people didn't really look at the data. And in fact, that's the absolute opposite. You lock a kid up, that's the #1 driver of future criminal behavior.
I know this might be a little kind of nerve-wracking because this is your first time here, or no?
We just know that doesn't work. And we know there's a lot of things that do work. So why would we continue to do that?
All this stuff back.
One of the misconceptions our citizens have of our youth today is that if they're in juvenile hall or if they're in gangs, that they're a hopeless cause. And I have to say that they're wrong. I've been in juvenile hall. And if people knew that I was kind of a delinquent, and maybe I might not be where I was at today, but I was afforded the opportunity to do other things. So I would like to see that afforded to our youth.
Right now in the Bay Area, we're spending over $500 per kid per night that we incarcerate. That's close to $200,000 per kid per year. Kids in the juvenile justice system have made choices that aren't good, and they need to be held accountable.
For the most part, when we speak to you, we're going to address you by your last name.
And what I have found over time in working with these young people is what has led them to those choices is very complicated and is often a situation where these are kids who may be victims of abuse, neglect, not having access to positive adult role models. Nearly 80% of kids who are incarcerated have experienced significant trauma.
I think all these kids are hard because they have to be. Because if you're weak, you're gonna wind up beaten, stabbed, shot. You have to put on that persona or you're not gonna survive.
We're gonna give you a bedroll, we're gonna process you, and we're gonna call the control desk and you're ready to go.
Both our courts and our juvenile justice system have ended up catching a bunch of other societal problems, and we've decided that the corrections system is the way in which we're gonna deal with that. I think another response could be, well, what got you to this point? We really are building kind of a pipeline to prison.
You really can't arrest your way out of a problem. It takes more than just one agency to help a child get out of this lifestyle.
I think FLY intervening is saying there can be a pipeline to a different future.
Poverty, extreme stress can impact and delay how our brain wires up. What we also know about the brain development, which is really exciting, is that we can influence it. And having consistent, reliable, positive adult role models, by having conversations that are meaningful and directed, we can wire up and fire up our brain in a way that is really positive and productive.
FLY has a unique ability to be able to reach some of our toughest youth. There are a lot of agencies that would just probably give up on them.
I was very self-destructive and my own mom didn't trust me.
We love bad attitudes because we know what can happen once they're in our program. So most kids, when they come to us, are not coming to us initially voluntarily. It's because the probation officer said I had to, the judge mandated it, this is a waste of my time. And all of us just kind of have the little smile on our face and be like, all right, we'll see you in 12 weeks.
I feel like a really intense turning point for me was FLY. Because never have I ever had people telling me, like, you can do this, you can do that.
I think youth really see the relationship with FLY as being accepted unconditionally for who they are and loved and cared about for who they are. And you can have a kid turn from just violating, saying, I'm not doing anything, you can't make me, and a month later be like, hey, I'm really sorry, that wasn't about you, taking more responsibility. But they just do it in a way that is so child-centered and trauma-informed and genuine that it works. And that's pretty magical.
I tend to care a lot about what other people think. So when I found out that other people thought positive things about me, I felt like I wanted to fulfill that because I really liked being told that.
The work in schools as a preventative measure is really critical. They are providing the kind of legal education that we think is necessary for young people.
Let's brainstorm what the officer did wrong and what the youth did wrong. So
they see a uniform, they think nothing but trouble. And we look at a gang member and how they're dressed, we think the same thing.
Because there are 3 situations when a police officer can stop and talk to youth without a warrant.
Isn't it if they have reasonable cause?
That has to be bridged. And I think FLY is a great organization to do that. They actually bring humanity back into the equation.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Officer Orsini. What's your name? Karen. That's consensual encounter right there.
That is enabling those youth to be in a more empowered position to be able to make different choices going forward. They are meeting a real need.
Fly was attractive to our district and to be brought to Peninsula High School because it was restorative practices before restorative practices were discussed up and down the state. They'll build a trust and respect for others, and it's a give and take between those adults and the students. It just goes a long way to building a good, positive school culture.
What the leadership program does is it takes these kids that have been labeled as juvenile delinquents or troublemakers, and they do community service projects together so they can realize there really is a good person inside and they can channel their skills to be positive and productive. And that completely transforms how they view themselves and what they're capable of doing. And we do this for 1/10 of the cost of incarceration.
I never thought I would go to Washington, D.C. to speak for the Juvenile Justice Department and, meet the U.S. Attorney General of the United States. When I was 15, locked up, I never thought, that I would be in the position that I am today.
A lot of these kids turn around and really become productive people in our society. And I think it's because of the integrity of the program with the recruitment, the training, and the oversight, and the commitment to the long-term relationship that makes it work.
Fly is a really good partner because we clearly have the same goals. That seeps out in every conversation. And they roll up their sleeves and sit at the table and work with us on issues. And those are the kind of partners you want to have.
Fly is constantly asking itself, are we making the most of the time that we have with the young people? You don't have forever. You want to make that time that you're working with them as impactful as you possibly can.
We pay a lot of attention to research on youth development, crime prevention, criminogenic factors, adolescent brain development. We say you have to have the head and the heart for this work, that we have to love our kids fiercely, and we have to love them in a way that is smart.
Don't back out now. Come on, you got this. It's gonna be hard to grab them, but it's okay. You're okay.
You got it, you're close.
2 more steps.
What tools do you have?
2 more steps.
Yes, you did.
We forget kids are kids. We lose the opportunity to know some pretty incredible and amazing souls. These kids have so much to offer. They haven't had the opportunity yet to get in touch with that themselves. And that's a huge loss that I don't think you can put dollar amounts to or put it on a fancy pie chart.
When I was going through the courses, my partner did good, like saying good job and all that stuff. And I felt like I did good for my partner too. And I was there for her.
There's a win-win for everybody. There's a win for the families and the kids by working with them to make them whole, to give them the resources they need, and there's a win for the community because the community is safer in the long run.
Fly has been a great partner for law enforcement because working with Fly, we've actually seen tangible results.
I think that phrase of more than my past mistakes, doesn't that apply to all of us? It's like Maya Angelou says, when I knew good, I did good. When I knew better, I did better. And I think that is the journey that Fly is in with its young people. And I think that's just incredibly powerful.